accept the situation and keep your distance. If you can't manage that, I will get a restraining order.
Walter White went from procrastinating on killing a dangerous drug dealer who had every intention of killing his family in episode 3 of season 1 to watching an innocent girl choked to death on her own vomit in the middle of the night just because she became a minor inconvenience in season 2. This isn't the same nigga that we saw watching the car of the student that embarrassed him in his own class in the pilot of the show. Somewhere between then and now, he evolved into this person, this cold-blooded, business-oriented individual who is completely diametrically opposed from who he is. Or maybe this is who he has always been on the inside and his cancer diagnosis just helped him unsheath his monster.
You should be a monster. An absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
Yeah, Jordan, we know. Breaking Bad is an S-tier TV show about an everyday chemistry teacher named Walter White who finds out he's terminally ill with inoperable lung cancer and decides to start cooking drugs with one of his former students named Jesse Pinkman. He does this solely because it allows him the opportunity to leave a shitload of money for his family before he dies. Yup, that's pretty much it. Much like Tyler Durden in Fight Club, Heisenberg is the alternate persona that Walter adopts as a sort of pseudonym or cryptonym or a nom de guerre in order to properly, freely and safely maneuver in the drug world. He uses the name for the first time in season 1 of episode 6 when he meets the first real antagonist of the series, Tuco Salamanca. Why did I say it like that? Tuco Salamanca. You see, Jesse tried to broker a big time distribution deal with Tuco, but because that nigga is crazier than Heath Ledger in that one movie, he ends up stealing his meth, beating the shit out of him and hospitalizing him for days. Methamphetamine, that's the drug they are making, by the way, in case I didn't mention that. Walter, knowing fully well what needs to be done because of the experience with the former distributor Crazy 8, goes down there, introduces himself as Heisenberg, blows up his office to show he's not one to be fucked with, recovers the money for the stolen drugs, makes him pay an extra 15k for beating up his partner.
50 G's? How you figure that?
35 for the pound of meth you stole, and another 15 for my partner's pain and suffering.
And brokers a long-term lucrative deal that establishes him and Jesse as his new supplier. That is the birth of Heisenberg. Now, this wasn't the first time Lil Goody Two Shoes Walter did something crazy out of necessity or, just for the fun of it. In episode 1, after his first drug deal goes off the rails, he attempts to murder the police officers that came to apprehend him in cold blood, but luckily for him and the Schrodinger's police officers, the sirens were just a bunch of firefighters. In episode 3, because of said previously unsuccessful drug deal, he now has a prisoner, the aforementioned Crazy 8, the guy who was supposed to supply drugs to in episode 1. After procrastinating for some days, he violently strangles him to death because he had already poisoned his cousin and held him captive for days. So, there was no way he wasn't going to kill Walter's whole family if he kept him alive. Oh, and Walter has a disabled son named Walter Jr. I know, dumb name.
What's wrong with Walter Jr.?
Everything, nigga. And a pregnant wife named Skylar. She can be a bitch sometimes, but this video isn't about her.
Someone has to protect this family from the man who protects this family.
Then in episode 6, his hair starts falling off because of the chemotherapy for his cancer. So, he shaves it all off and commits a war crime in Tuco's office. And all that doesn't even include all the crazy shit he did during his random anger outbursts that had nothing to do with the business. The thing with Walter is, he's a good guy with a good job and a good family.
I have a wife and family.
He doesn't want to do any of this illegal drug dealing gangster shit, but his desire to secure his family's perpetual financial stability long after he's gone far outweighs any moralistic reservations he may have when it comes to making sure he gets that bag by any means possible. So, at this particular point in time, Heisenberg is a sort of necessary evil that he must condone in order to facilitate his fiduciary responsibility to his family. We start to see the fucking batshit crazy genius intellect of Heisenberg at work in episode 3 of season 2 when he devises a plan to hide the fact that he was held captive for days by the crazy guy he supplies illegal drugs to. You see, Tuco Salamanca is a crazy ass motherfucker. Wait, I feel like I said that already. Well, if I did, I definitely didn't stress that point enough because with nothing to go on besides some observable recurring suspicious activity from one of his goons and a gut feeling,
I can see the future,
Tuco fucking kidnaps his 2 favorite drug suppliers and takes them to the desert with the aim of starting a new life in Mexico.
I have a wife and family.
So what? You'll get another one.
Because he believed that one of his guys rotted him out to the cops.
Gonzo went snitched to the cops!
Obviously, Walter and Jesse had no plans of uprooting their lives and following this psychopath to Mexico, where they'll most likely work as slaves for the rest of their days. So, during one of his daily irrational temper tantrums, they managed to steal his gun, shoot him in the abdomen and leave him for dead. Now, at this point, Walter's family is worried sick because they've been looking for him for almost 48 hours and he couldn't just walk back into the house like, "Hey honey, I'm home. Oh, where have I been?" Crazy story. You're gonna wanna sit down for this one. So, this crazy gangster I cook meth for, yeah, I cook meth now by the way, tried to smuggle me into Mexico and coerce me into starting a new life with a new wife so I can keep cooking the aforementioned methamphetamine, just because he saw the future and accurately predicted that the feds would shut down his whole operation. Yeah, I know, fucking crazy ass nigga activity, but it's cool. I shot him in the abdomen and managed to escape just in time for dinner. So, what's for dinner? Yeah, that bit went on for way too long. Obviously, they couldn't say all of that. So, my nigga Heisenberg feigned a fucking fugue state. He essentially told everyone that he had amnesia and couldn't remember what happened in the past few days. So, his explanation was no explanation. His plan was so simple, it was genius. But, it had one flaw. Seeing as how he had to show up naked in the supermarket to really sell the fact that he lost his marbles, the hospital couldn't just let him leave because they had no idea if this was an isolated incident or a potentially recurring phenomenon.
You understand, we can't allow you to leave until we're certain what happened was a non-recurring event. What if you were to disassociate while you were driving? What if you were to get into a situation where you could be shot by the police?
So, seeing as how Heisenberg is fiending to get back to the lab, he manipulates the doctor-patient confidentiality and admits to his psychiatrist that he lied about having amnesia. He just wanted to run away, then came back when he had his fill. And because therapists are not too dissimilar to your girlfriend in the sense that they both can't be satiated with a simple response, he proceeds to ask him why he felt the need to run. So, Walter essentially runs through the list of all the reasons why his life sucks. He's broke, his childhood friends are not broke, he's gonna be dead in a year, and his wife's a bitch. Okay, well maybe he didn't say that last one, but I'm sure he was thinking about it. Point is, it worked, and by the end of the day, he was free to go home. So, Heisenberg managed to successfully bamboozle not only his family and his doctors, but a licensed psychiatric professional, all within a span of 24 hours. And this is just the beginning. It only gets increasingly more diabolical from here, kids. Like in episode 9 of season 2, when they went deep into the desert for a few days to cook over $1 million worth of meth because they had just hired Saul Goodman as their lawyer and he advised them to make more products so they can have more money to launder.
Let's just have to cook more, a lot more.
Yeah, that's my legal opinion.
But Jesse's dumbass left the key in the ignition for 2 whole days.
Your imbecility being what it is, I should have known to say, Jesse, don't leave the keys in the ignition the entire 2 days.
So, their battery died and they got stuck in the desert for days with no food, no water, no electricity and no means of getting home. So Heisenberg, on some fucking mad scientist, evil genius, high IQ type shit, just fucking created a new battery with nothing but his scientific intuition and a box of scraps.
Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science.
Bro really got in his Tony Stark bag for this one.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps!
He pays to have some guy go to prison in place of one of his dealers to prevent him from talking to the DEA after he got arrested. He catches some scrawny looking guy purchasing supplies to cook, scares him off, then stares down his more muscular Heisenberg variants and boldly tells them to stay the fuck away from his territory.
Stay out of my territory.
These increasingly sinister microaggressive events eventually culminate at what is easily the Heisenberg event horizon of the season. The moment he makes the conscious decision to let an innocent girl overdose and die before his very eyes. Now, it all started when one of Jesse's dealers and close friends got shot because they expanded outside of Tuco's former territory, which they took over after he died in the desert. This cold-blooded act of retaliation immediately spooked Jesse's entire team of dealers and they all ran off. So, seeing as how they no longer have a distribution network, they had to find a way to wholesale their $1 million worth of meth. Luckily for them, their criminal lawyer Saul Goodman knows a guy who knows a guy who can call a different guy who also knows a guy. So, he was able to get them a meeting with the illustrious Gustavo Fring. At first, they didn't know his name or what he looked like. They just had a time and a location, which was apparently at an obscure fast food restaurant. Gustavo ultimately decided not to meet with them because Jesse showed up late, was high, threw a tantrum, and left. So Walter ended up waiting there for hours in futile perpetuity with no reciprocation of interest. Meanwhile, Gustavo disguised himself as the friendly neighborhood regional manager in plain sight.
Gentlemen, is everything to your satisfaction?
Fine, thanks.
Walter later got the news that the deal was off and the guy was no longer interested. But his unending tenacity and innate desire to fulfill his fiduciary responsibility to his family pushed him to go back to that very spot where he proceeded to sit for hours, and eventually he was able to deduce Gustavo's identity, proving himself to not only be a megalomaniac and a mad scientist, but a master detective as well. He confronts him in a very subtle yet stern manner, but Gustavo remains inconspicuous and continues to feign ignorance.
I think that you're confusing me for someone else.
I don't think I am.
He then enumerates his defining characteristics and pulls the
"You and I are not so different"
card, which Gustavo immediately takes as an insult, so he instantly drops his pre-programmed customer-friendly AI persona and gets to business.
I don't think we're alike at all, Mr. White. You are not a cautious man at all. Your partner was late, and he was high.
The best part of this conversation is that Gustavo was hell-bent on how careless and inappropriate it was for Walter to partner up with a literal drug addict. But the moment Walter got the chance, he immediately redirected his attention towards the unmatched chemical potency of his products, its high demand, and its sustained credibility in the market, so that he could operate from a position of power and regain his bargaining chips, instead of trying to explain himself to someone he just met, setting a precedent that he's an equally valuable business partner and must be treated as such moving forward. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, because Walter has this innate passion for chemistry, he makes the purest crystal meth anyone has ever seen. Before he got in the game, what you would find on the market would be anywhere between like 60 to 75% pure.
76%.
But Walter's product is 99% pure.
It is the purest, most chemically sound product on the market anywhere.
In all honesty, it's the only reason why Tuco didn't kill him on spot after he blew up his office. His meth sold better than any other product he had ever put on the market.
That crystal that your partner brought me, it sold faster than $10 ass and TJ.
I mean, he made such a big ass impact on the market that even Gustavo had heard about his products long before they ever set up a meeting.
Are you familiar with my product?
I've been told it's excellent.
I can guarantee you purity of 96%. However, this other product is 99, maybe even a touch beyond that.
It's 92%.
I'm sorry? 92. That's Heisenberg level.
He manages to pacify his worries about Jess and they eventually come to somewhat of an agreement.
Will I hear from you?
I have your numbers.
About a week later, he gets instructions to deliver the entirety of his 38-pound batch of meth to a location for $1.2 million cash in an hour. Emphasis on the hour.
1 hour, you in or out?
In, absolutely, but I just need a little more time.
1 hour. If you miss it, don't ever show your face in here again.
So he sprints to Jesse's apartment to get the product, but bro just took heroin for the first time with his girlfriend, who, by the way, is supposed to be 18 months sober.
What's this?
My 18-month chip. I'm in recovery.
So Jesse is zonked out of his mind right now, but Walter is unaware, so he keeps banging on the door, wasting precious minutes as his time flies by. And with him being unwilling to pass up that big ass payday, he breaks into his house, slaps the location of the drugs out of him.
Where is it? Where'd you hide the meth?
And starts rounding it up in the bag. But as if tensions weren't high enough, Skylar starts going to labor at that very moment. Obviously, he picks the money over his baby because he's not a fucking dumbass. But you know, that's just the price to pay when you've got a drug addict for a business partner.
You can never trust a drug addict.
So not only did Jesse almost cost him this big ass $1 million payday, he made him miss the birth of his daughter. Jesse eventually gets sober, realizes what happened, then confronts Walter for his money. Walter, obviously still resentful of the fact that he almost fucked up the deal and the whole
"You made me miss the birth of my daughter"
situation, refuses to release his money until he verifies his sobriety with a drug test. Then he calls his girlfriend a junkie and this happens.
That and your little junkie girlfriend.
Which is funny because it reminds me of that famous line from Game of Thrones.
Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you.
Clearly, Jesse hasn't accepted or made peace with the fact that he's an addict and he's fucking an addict as well. So when Walter shined a light on his reality and plainly described it for what it is, it struck a nerve and solicited a reaction out of him. There's literally no reason why people should be able to just easily push your buttons like that. It would be in your best interest to be very introspective and deeply self-aware at all times, because if you can't control your mind, your internal feelings and your outward reactions, then you're just going to have a very hard time living a stress-free life, seeing as how anybody can just come along and pull your strings like a puppet. And I'm pretty sure it goes without saying that the whole sobriety caveat that Walter introduced as a stipulation for him to get his money is sort of the right thing that needs to be done, because even though it came from a place of enmity and animosity on Walter's part, it's still very much valid, because, you know, Jesse does need to get his shit together. You can't expect to be in the big leagues with the big boys and get invited to all the, you know, like secret meetings and stuff if you're going to be zonked out on heroin all the time. You do need to get your shit together, bro.
Get your shit together!
And there's this thing Jordan Peterson said on the Joe Rogan podcast about playing the game of life in a way that makes other players want to invite you to more games.
It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. It matters how you play the game. You know that that's right, but you don't know how to explain it to your kid.
Yeah, that.
If your kid is fun to play with, then what happens? Kids line up to play with him, and adults line up to teach him. And if kids line up to play with him, then he'll have friends his whole life.
So essentially, Jesse, if you want to climb up the ranks, you're going to have to present yourself as a sort of reliable, trustworthy businessman, the same way Walter did when Gus was trying to disregard his capabilities. And it's gonna be kind of hard to do that if you're getting high on heroin with Jane all day, you know. Oh, and for context, Jane is his neighbor at his new apartment after his parents kicked him out of the house he was living in, which belonged to his auntie who had cancer but left the house to him. But the parents came in and found his meth lab in the basement of the house while he was being, you know, kidnapped and about to be smuggled to Mexico by Tuco. And it wasn't really hard for me to get invested in their situationship off rip, because they started out as like tenant and landlord, because her dad is the one that owns the apartment complex that they are both staying in. And when Jesse actually started talking to her, he wasn't like sweeping off her feet with the things he was saying or anything like that, but he actually was talking to her, because that's the thing with talking to girls. You just have to do it, and he was doing it. He wasn't as assertive as I would have liked, but he was doing it, and eventually she started liking him too, because he was just so fucking persistent, inviting her over, commenting on her art, you know, talking about smoking, whatever, and then they finally, they got together. There's this particular moment that I like, and it happens right after the first time they fuck, you know, because I said he's not as assertive or as like charming as I would have liked him to be, so he's not particularly sure of himself. Even the audience is surprised the moment they actually start doing the thing, because it's all just awkward and weird and chill. He's just talking, doesn't really know what he's saying. Then out of nowhere she holds his hand, and then the next episode they're doing the thing, you know. So right after that he starts being clingy, says the wrong thing, then she gets up, but we find out that she got up because he invited her to smoke and she can't smoke because she's sober now. Then he starts getting insecure and weird and starts asking, are we okay? Am I gonna see you again? And you know, that whole thing, it puts girls off. So she just like leaves, and he actually asks, am I going to see you again? Are we going to see each other again? Well, is this going to are we gonna is that gonna happen again? We gonna smash? So she leaves it a bit inconspicuous, a bit vague, oblique, like up to the universe to determine. Nobody really knows what's going to happen again. So she's like, well, I got to smash once, but I don't know if I'm going to see her again. Then in the same episode, after he just finished putting some other guy in prison for the guy that was supposed to go in prison that works for him, the guy they paid off to go to prison, he walks in and his bed got delivered to his apartment, because, you know, he just moved in. He doesn't really have any furniture or any stuff like that. He's a guy. He has a TV, he has some chairs, that's about it. That's all he needed. So he was getting his furniture like delivered slowly to him, and he got back, his bed was there, and then she knocked on the door, she invited herself in, and they just both stood there staring at the bed, talking about nothing. Just, oh, is that what type of, you got a bed? Is that what type of bed is that? Oh, it's a big bed. Oh, I wonder what you can do with the bed. You know, just.
What is that, king? Pillow top.
Nothing conversation, just standing there looking all pretty, and he was like, and I was like, let's fucking go.
Come on!
He did the thing. Let's fucking go. Because how you just okay, relax. You know, you don't really need to do anything. You just do that. That's all you gotta do. You don't gotta do too much. You don't gotta say nothing. You just drop the dick, bro. That's about it. Because that's exactly what was impeding his progress the last time. He was gonna get some, seconds, but he said some dumb shit and she got up and started leaving. Now, don't say nothing. Don't do nothing. Just drop the dick, bro. That's all you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, it was very, very incredibly, obliviously obvious that she was trying to get some dick. And I'm glad he picked up on it, because she literally just walked in, stared at the bed, said nothing for a couple seconds, and just started looking at the floor like, yo, nigga, you gonna give me this dick or what? What's going on over here? You know what I'm saying? I'm just a very big fan of progress, you know. I like when someone goes from not being able to do something to being able to do it properly. It gets me hype. He started off a little bit precarious, but somewhere in the middle, he found it. He started doing the thing. And that's really all anybody can ask for. Just learn from your mistakes and move forward accordingly. There was even this whole section of their relationship where there was friction, and he actually tackled it pretty well because her dad that owns the place came over. Jesse walked out trying to like introduce himself, but she just, shrugged him off, and then after he left, he confronted her about it. Was like, yo, what's going on? Why are you embarrassed about me? Because obviously, he's a stoner, he's a junkie. She's not supposed to be on drugs, but hanging out with a drug addict is not the best look for her dad that wants her to be in rehab and, still stay sober and stuff. So he confronted her about it, and then she just like shrugged it off, and instead of bitching and moaning or whining and complaining, he just left, which is great because he went through the 3 steps of conflict resolution. You acknowledge the problem, you explain the problem, you present a solution. And at any point when you're running through these steps of conflict resolution, if the girl starts being dismissive, disrespectful, irrational, emotional, there's no need to sit there and argue with her or try to continue to impose your logical way of thinking upon her, because she's not going to listen. The only thing to do is silence. You dismiss the situation, and then you allow her to come back to you when she has recalibrated and understood what needs to be done. You can't stay there and continue arguing with her, and that's exactly what she did. He presented the problem like, yo, are you embarrassed about me? And then she just kept on lying through her nose like, oh, I was saving you the trouble, my dad isn't fun, you don't want to meet him. But obviously he likes you, he wants to like meet your parents and dad and stuff, so you can't just invalidate his feelings like that. So when she was doing that, he was like, nah, fuck this, and then he left. And then she apologized to him, which was so just fucking mind-blowing, because I said when he started off talking to her, he wasn't like winning any award with the way he was like charming her or anything. But that particular pivotal moment of conflict, he actually did the right thing. He left, he gave her some space, she acknowledged what she did was wrong, she apologized, and then they go back on track. Just that moment of conflict resolution alone was enough to get me so invested in their little situationship. But then it all got off the rails when they started doing drugs and getting high and almost fucking up the operation for Walter. So yeah. Eventually, despite all her attempts to hide the fact that she's not sober anymore, Jane's dad eventually finds out she's back on that needle and threatens to put her in prison if she doesn't go back to rehab. And because Jesse's a dumbass that tells his girlfriend everything, she knows about the money Walter owes him. So in an attempt to buy herself some time so she can get the money and run away, she lies through her nose and tells her dad she'll go to rehab the next day. 2 seconds after he leaves, she calls Walter, threatens to expose his secret to the world on live television, and the moment I heard this...
This is blackmail, because what I know about you, high school teacher turned drug dealer with a brother-in-law in the DEA, that'd make one hell of a story. National news, I'll bet.
I was like, yeah... that bitch gotta go, nigga, what the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, look, I ain't gonna lie, I came into this analysis ready to crucify this Heisenberg nigga for letting her die, cause I actually got really invested in their little situationship. But the moment this bitch presented herself as an actual threat to the operation, my nigga, she gotta go! Jesse, bro, listen to me. No type of pussy is worth this level of risk, my guy. How you gonna let your girl go from being your lover to a liability, bro? What the fuck? So, not wanting to have his whole covert illegal situation uprooted right from under him, he goes to deliver the money. And Jesse, being the bitch-ass nigga that he is, just stands there and lets his girl handle the whole exchange while barely being able to hold eye contact with the man he's vicariously stabbing in the back. Now, one would expect Walter to be enraged and spiteful, yelling at him, calling him a dumbass, junkie drug addict as he normally would.
But from what I can tell, you are just a drug addict. You are a pathetic junkie, too stupid to understand and follow simple rudimentary instructions. Damn druggy idiot.
But he actually goes in with a more empathetic and loving approach. Obviously, he busts his balls for letting the woman run the relationship, as he should.
Nice job wearing the pants.
But surprisingly, he's actually more worried and concerned for the trajectory of Jesse's life than he is angry and bitter that he's blackmailing him. Because while Jesse might have been the one that got her back smoking crystal and weed again, she's the one that got him on heroin. Before her, Jesse had never done heroin before. So at this particular moment, she's definitely worse of an influence on him than he is on her.
Hold that.
What's it feel like?
You'll see.
Which was also around the period I started to lose investment in that little situationship, because it's one thing to fuck up Jesse's life, but it's a whole nother thing to start fucking up the operation for my man Heisenberg, bro. You can't be fucking up the two niggas. You just can't. Pick one.
I will burn you to the ground.
Oh, you want both of them? Then I'm sorry, bitch, but you gotta go. Walter even tries to stop Jesse from going down this path by gently talking him out of it, but before he can say his piece, Jane shuts the door in his face.
You're not seeing straight, Jesse. You are making a mistake.
He goes goes to a bar to have a drink where he coincidentally encounters Jane's dad, and they both bond over the struggles of fatherhood. Ironically, Walter has no idea who he is, and Jane's dad doesn't know that Walter is talking about the guy that made his daughter relapse. But we get to find out that Walter has actually developed some sort of subconscious but genuine paternal possessiveness over Jesse, in the way that he refers to him as his nephew and laments over his desire to get him to see the dangers of the path he's on, which is strange because one would have expected him to be on some Rick Sanchez type timing where he'd be happy to cut him off entirely and replace him with someone less liable to raise his heart rate every 5 business minutes, seeing as how Jesse is basically just a glorified lab assistant now, because the underground criminal connection aspect of the business that Jesse brought to the table has now been superseded by Saul Goodman's contributions to the team as their criminal lawyer.
Seriously, when the going gets tough, you don't want a criminal lawyer, right? You want a criminal lawyer. Know what I'm saying?
I am one. One is me. I'm the one that wanted to get rid of Jesse. But I guess even Rick Sanchez developed a sentimental attachment to Morty at some point. He goes back to try and talk Jesse out of running away with his drug addict girlfriend, but they are both high and asleep. He tries to vigorously wake him up, then Jane starts throwing up, but because she's now laying on her back as a result of all the Jesse gyrating Walter was doing, she starts to choke on her own vomit. Being the decent human being that he is, he reflexively rushes to go save her, but just before he touches her and plants his fingerprints all over her soon-to-be corpse, Heisenberg kicks in and Walter pauses for 3 full seconds as he starts to run all the calculations in his head. You almost see the exact point where he realizes that if she dies right here, right now, then maybe Jesse won't suffer the same fate somewhere down the line. His higher consciousness and Heisenberg have an intellectual debate on the moral implications of murdering this young woman for about 7 seconds. Then as he finally commits to the decision to let her die, a dark cloud of sorrow falls over his face. He sheds a tear the moment he realizes that she has drawn her last breath, but he immediately makes peace with his decision and accepts it for what it is. Hey, you know me. I was fucking with y'all's cute little situationship before, rooting for you guys and all. But come on, you know what it is. We're all big boys here. Tough choices had to be made. Niggas die every day, and nobody fucking blackmails Heisenberg. Roll the goddamn credits, bitch! This protective paternal nature comes back in episode 12 of season 3 when Jesse tries to gun down the 2 guys who killed his friend back in season 2. He tries to poison them, but because they work for Gus and he and Walter now cook for him on an ongoing basis, he's instructed to keep the peace.
My men will come back inside, and you will shake their hands and you will make peace.
They end up killing the kid who works for them, and because Jesse is now coincidentally fucking his sister and has this inexplicable soft spot for kids.
They use kids because, hey, why not? Easy to control, easy to fool.
He goes apeshit and foolishly tries to start a firefight with them. But of course, Heisenberg being a type of nigga to never let anyone fuck with his family, regardless of whatever behavioral parameters one such as Gus Fring may have attempted to impose upon him, fucking runs them over with his car, killing one of them upon impact and finishing the other with a clean-ass headshot.
Run.
Damn! John Wick who, nigga? Obviously, this infuriates Mr. Fring, and with him being the type of nigga to not accept any sort of insubordination from his employees, but happily recognizing that Walter is still a necessary part of his operation and will refuse to cook for him if he chooses to handle this misdemeanor in the way he sees fit by killing Jesse, immediately starts preparing Walter's replacement.
If push came to shove, I was wondering how soon you might be able to take over the lab yourself.
So, Heisenberg kills him too. Or at least gives the order to kill him.
You're closer than we are. You'll have about a 20-minute lead. They've got me at the laundry and they're going to kill me.
Jesse, do it now! Do it, bitch! Do it fast! Do it, Jesse! Do it!
Obviously, this enrages one Mr. Gustavo Fring again. But what's a nigga to do when he needs Walter to cook his formula for him?
Without us, without Jesse and myself, you have no one to make your product.
So, he decides to turn Jesse against Walter by giving him 2 of the 3 things a man needs to feel a sense of fulfillment in his life: purpose, progress, and based on the recurring pattern of alliteration, I'm sure you can adequately ascertain what the final prerequisite may be. He starts sending him on missions with Mike, his primary enforcer, putting him in situations where he needs to man up and handle business, which he actually does quite well from time to time. And for the first time, he actually starts getting bite-sized servings of validation from Gus.
Why me?
I like to think I see things in people.
He said he sees something in me.
Over the course of the next few episodes, they start trusting him with higher priority operations, and Gus even invites him to his home for dinner, a courtesy up until now he had only extended to Walter. We reach the climax of the season and Gus has successfully turned Jesse against Walter, so he's now running the whole lab by himself, essentially eliminating the need to keep Walter around, which is exactly what Gus wanted. Because Even though Jesse is the irresponsible junkie that he doesn't want to do business with, his main problem is Walter, seeing as how Walter and Gus are two incredibly disagreeable human beings, and one disagreeable nigga can't work under another disagreeable nigga. So Gus knows that he needs to nip this in the bud real quick before Walter becomes a real problem. Now, with how much they've been through, you'd think that it would be impossible to turn Jesse against Walter, let alone turn Jesse to the side of the man who wanted him dead for so long. But if you stop to think about it and thoroughly analyze the series of events that led to this eventuality,
I think you can run the lab by yourself now.
Someone cooked here. I know that you have been cooking without me. You are done. Fired.
it all makes sense actually. The thing is, no matter how you slice it, validation feels good, regardless of who it's coming from. But this particular serving of successive sentimental gratification was exponentially, reinforced by the fact that Gustavo Fring isn't your average Joe Schmo. He's the elusive head of the criminal organization that now has the monopoly on the entire Southwest meth market. What? Southwest meth market. Take two. He's the elusive head of the criminal organization that now has a monopoly on the entire Southwest meth market. Take three. He's the elusive head of the criminal organization that now has the monopoly on the entire Southwest meth market. Yeah! The same man who had previously made it his mission to keep Jesse at arm's length for so long.
From the lawyer, I'm supposed to let you know the Pinkman kid is looking to sell.
I don't work with junkies.
Even going as far as trying to have him killed.
Where is Pinkman now?
I wouldn't know.
What about Pinkman?
I'm making inquiries. Now, when I say I'm looking for Pinkman, we both know why, don't we?
So when such an important man finally decides to bring you into his inner circle like that, no matter what type of pain and anguish he may have caused you in the past, it's gonna feel really good to be accepted by such an illustrious individual and invited into his exclusive group of very important people. It functions very similarly to when your abusive ex comes back, but this time they shower you with nothing but love, attention and validation in an attempt to remind you of all the good times, just so they can keep you on a leash and use you for their own very selfish self-aggrandization. Even though you vividly remember all the pain they caused you in the not so distant past, the thought of the possibility of things being different this time is more than enough to make you fall head over heels all over again. I mean, your ex might have been a piece of shit, but Gus literally tried to have Jesse killed, and all the man had to do was make him feel important for a few episodes by giving him a new sense of purpose, coupled with consistent indicators of progress in the form of subtle congratulatory praises whenever he did a good job, offer him a promotion.
You did well down here. You also proved the point. I think you can run the lab by yourself now.
And bro was essentially pawed in his hands. Jesse even saw through his manipulative tactics early on.
Me, the junkie loser you were about to waste and dump in the desert a month ago? This your plan, huh? Invite me in your house, be my buddy, and make me feel important.
And that shit still worked like a charm.
What do you want? I'm busy.
We need to talk.
I got nothing to say to you, man. Get the hell out of my house.
Just give me 1 minute.
Because like I said, validation is validation, and people will take it wherever they can get it. This is precisely what happens when you don't give a girl the love and attention she needs. Some other nigga swoops in, treats her the way you did during your talking stage. She starts sucking his dick, and now you're posting passive-aggressive cryptic messages on your IG story. If your girl cheats on you, it's your fault, bro. Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Walter's inability to give Jesse the attention he needed was completely understandable because he had to deal with his wife who, at this point, had divorced him, kicked him out of the house, and started fucking someone else, simply because she found out he was lying about all the shitload of money my man was making.
Are your kids home? I fucked Ted.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
If your girl cheats on you, it's your fault, bro. So, Skylar, let me get this straight. Your husband risks his life to provide generational wealth for you and your family, but because he didn't tell you about it immediately, you divorce him. And instead of communicating with him and hearing his side of the story, because it's not like he was cheating on you or gambling away all your life savings, you decide that fucking another man would be an appropriate response to your husband doing his very best to provide for and protect his family.
Right.
Did you also tell him about my affair?
I'm sure it's safe to say that Walter had a lot to deal with. Plus, tension between them had been subtly rising in the background for a while, and it wasn't too long ago that Jesse threatened to turn him in if he ever got caught.
They nab me. I make a deal to give up the great Heisenberg.
And lashed out at him after Walter offered him the opportunity to come work at the lab.
I want nothing to do with you!
If you ask me, you should have just eliminated Jesse the moment he threatened to turn you in, and completely distanced yourself from Skylar the moment she brought up divorce papers. But hey, you're a better man than me.
I fucked Ted.
I guess. So now that Walter is no longer an asset, but he can't kill him because Jesse won't allow it. He fires him, then implies that he will do bad things to Hank because he's been investigating him.
I mean, what do we know about Gustavo Fring?
Sir, your fingerprints were found at a crime scene.
Really? That's surprising.
A drug-related homicide.
Gustavo Fring. Well, I suspect the man's a drug dealer.
And threatens to kill his family.
I will kill your wife. I will kill your son. I will kill your infant daughter.
Which, by the way, to go from this...
Are you asking me if I ordered the murder of a child?
To this...
I will kill your infant daughter.
Is fucking crazy. But with Heisenberg being the one who knocks and all.
I am the one who knocks.
He's definitely not the type of nigga to watch another man threaten his family and not do anything about it. So, he enlists Jesse's help after he helps him figure out that Gus was the one who poisoned Brock, the kid of the girl he's been fucking, as a way to get him to turn on Walter and kill him by making him think that Walter poisoned the boy as retribution for betraying him.
Who do you know? Who's okay with using children? Jesse, who do you know? Who's allowed children to be murdered? Gus!
So by capitalizing on the anger Jesse felt at the thought of Gus using innocent kids as a means to an end all over again, Walter managed to get him back on his side.
He has been 10 steps ahead of me at every turn. And now, the one thing that he needed to finally get rid of me,
wait for it,
is your consent. And boy, he's got that now. He's got it. And not only does he have that, but he manipulated you into pulling the trigger for him.
He builds a bomb in his kitchen because, of course he does, and blows him up halfway to hell. I can't show you Gus's half blown up face because, well, I'm still interested in making money from this video. But I'm sure if you look up Gustavo Fring face explosion on YouTube, you'll see exactly what happens when you fuck with Heisenberg. But do it after you're done watching the analysis. Don't you dare fuck up my attention, nigga. And you know the crazy part of this whole thing? Heisenberg was the one who poisoned the kid in the first place, knowing fully well that Jesse would suspect him, come to his house trying to kill him, giving him the opportunity to Jedi mind trick him into turning against Gus.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. I keep telling you all this Heisenberg nigga's a demon, but y'all don't want to listen.
I am the danger.
But what's really funny is, despite being as cool as I portrayed him to be, I just envy this nigga's life one bit. In fact, one of the many highlights of watching this show is the constant reminder that no matter how shitty I think my life may be at any given moment, it's never anywhere near as depressing as Heisenberg's whole situation. I mean, Walt isn't even dying from cancer anymore. He's been in remission since I believe season 3, so he doesn't need to keep building his drug empire for the sake of stacking cash to leave behind for his family. He's only doing it because it's all he's got left. This nigga's wife hates him, so much so that she's literally counting the days till his cancer comes back.
Bide my time and wait.
Wait for what? What are you waiting for?
For the cancer to come back.
And she sent the kids away because she's scared of something bad happening to them, so he can't even play with his children anymore. I guess the gut string explosion was just way too much for her to handle. He has no real friends, so he has no one to talk to, not even Jesse, because at this point he's keeping so many secrets from him that he can never truly open up to him about anything. He's not particularly close with any of his family members, so their conversations never really go beyond bullshit small talk and the obligatory "how are you doing?" He even tries to confide in Hank about Skylar not loving him anymore, and Hank got so uncomfortable that he just left the room.
Skylar doesn't love me anymore. And I don't know what to do, Hank. I don't.
And listen, I'm gonna get a coffee. You want a coffee?
And by the way, Walter, if your wife doesn't love you anymore, you don't sit there begging for attention and affection. You leave. I have no idea why you keep seeking this woman's validation after she fucked another man, nigga. And now even Jesse has abandoned him to run the business by himself because some kid died while they were
robbing a train.
Strategically restocking their chemical ingredients. And you know how Jesse gets when kids are involved.
I don't think I can do this anymore. So, I'm retiring, I guess.
So now he's all alone and entirely incapable of stopping because now he's got clout.
Say my name. Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
And at least as Heisenberg, he can get some semblance of the respect, love and adoration he's sorely lacking in his personal life. So, the next time you feel like your life is hard, just be grateful you don't have to deal with this.
I'm working with a new guy now. Because
And by the way, Mike's death at the hands of Heisenberg could have very easily been avoided if he just quietly left with his money. You know for a fact that Walter is a prideful man with a big ass ego.
say my name.
There's no real need for you to deny his request and then proceed to scold him like a child, even though you're right and you guys are only in this situation because he killed Gus.
I'm the man who killed Gus Fring.
But I guess he's been resentful of Walter's actions from the start.
Whoa! Hold up! Hold up! Get out of my way, kid! Mike, wait a minute! All right, let him talk. Let him talk. I am done listening to this asshole talk. Now get out of my way!
And I had to talk it all in for the sake of their partnership. But now that it's all over and he's never going to see him again, he just had to have that final cathartic release. And we all know you can't logically weigh out of your emotions, even when you're fully cognizant of the momentary futility of an emotional response. For context, after Gustavo got unalived in the most radical way possible. Yeah. That, Jesse, Mike and Walter formed a partnership. A partnership which had to be disbanded because Jesse's a bitch.
No! No! No!
And the police won't stop following Mike.
Just since this morning, I threw 3 separate tales, all DEA. What? The feds have been all over me. This has been going on for a while now.
So now the DEA caught Mike's lawyer illegally dead dropping hush money for Mike's former crew for when they used to work for Gus Fring. Mike now has to split and skip town forever, but Walter wants the name of his men so he can dissuade them from talking to the feds. Obviously, Mike won't betray his men, so he put Walter in his place.
You and your pride and your ego. You just had to be the man. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.
It's a bullet. And dies peacefully by the sunset.
I'm sorry, Mike. This whole thing could have been avoided.
Shut the fuck up. Let me die in peace.
Just goes to show, always trust your instincts, because Mike actually rejected Walter's offer to partner up initially.
You are a time bomb. Tick, tick, ticking. And I have no intention of being around for the boom.
But came back around when he needed money to continue paying off his guys.
I've reconsidered. I'm in.
Good.
Now he's dead. And Heisenberg just had all his guys killed in prison.
Nothing's impossible. We sing tired. It's done.
10 guys in jail simultaneously within a 2-minute window.
Look, you two guys are just guys, okay? Mr. White, he's the devil.
That's what I've been fucking saying. Shortly after the penitentiary massacre, with the help of Gustavo's chief of distribution, he expands his empire overseas to like Europe and shit, makes a literal boatload of money, pays off Jesse for his share of the business, a full $5 million, which he essentially quite literally throws away out of guilt as a last resort after Walter and Saul stop him from giving it all away. Can't fathom how you don't just take that money and start a new philanthropic life halfway around the world with some bad bitches on your dick, regularly donating to an all-boys orphanage as a sort of self-imposed penance as a way to atone and compensate for all your sins if the guilt is really eating you up that much. But sure, do the dumbest and least productive thing you can think of instead. Fucking dumbass. Soon after, Walter quits, starts working full-time at the car wash they bought to launder his money, and the kids come back home. Everything seems to be going his way until...
Because you. All along it was you! Son of a bitch.
Well, Hank had to start getting good at his job at some point. Walter obviously does the smart thing and immediately buries his shitload of money in the desert, since that's the only piece of physical evidence Hank could have against him, seeing as how Walter is out and very good at covering his tracks. All he has are suspicions, speculations and half-baked stories he can barely piece together in his head. He can't arrest him because there's no probable cause, and he can't go to the DEA with baseless allegations either because he'll become a laughingstock. So, he might as well go in with enough irrefutable evidence to get a solid conviction. And luckily for him...
He poisoned Brock! He poisoned Brock and you helped him!
I guess everyone's a fucking detective now. So Hank scoops him up, bro spills his guts on camera, but because it's the word of a junkie meth head drug dealer against an upstanding family man with cancer, they still ain't got shit on him. So they devise a plan to trick the ultimate trickster and he ends up leading them to the money himself.
Jesse.
Got my photo, bitch? Gasoline and a lighter.
No, Jesse, please. Listen to me.
No, you listen to me, bitch. You get your ass out here as fast as you can.
Yes, I'm coming.
You can never trust a drug addict.
Well, Gus, I try to warn him. The moment he threatened to turn you in, you should have killed him. It's as simple as that. No amount of sentiment or emotional attachment should let you go into business, let alone illegal dealings with a nigga that looked you in the eye and threatened to stab you in the back. Twice! Makes no fucking sense, but then again, I guess you're still a better man than me.
No, listen! I have money! I have money! It's buried out here. $80 million.
Or at least a dumber one, seeing as how the guys you used to do the prison assassinations showed up trying to kill Jesse for you, and your dumbass ended up offering them your $80 million. That's how much the money is, by the way, in exchange for sparing Hank's life. Brother-in-law or not, I have no idea why you would believe for a second that the fucking criminal assassins wouldn't just take your money and kill Hank anyway to tie up loose ends. So now, all that work you did was for nothing. All because you were too dumb to let go of Jesse the moment he presented himself as a threat to you.
I watched Jane die. I could have saved her, but I didn't.
Well, we've done the biggest fuck you of the century. I don't know what is. Walter orders them to kill Jesse, but they pull a fast one on him, take him back to their base and force him to cook meth for them under the threat that they'll kill Brock and his mom if he doesn't, which they actually do follow up on when he tries to escape. Now, I'm not saying he deserves this, but I'm not entirely mad at it. You really should have just taken your $5 million and shut the fuck up, nigga. Walter goes back home and Skylar obviously figures out that Hank's dead because he called his wife after he arrested Walter and she told Skylar soon after. She goes full apeshit on him, and because Skylar's sister, who's Hank's wife, told Walter Jr. about his dad, the whole family now fucking hates him.
Stop it! Just stop!
She can be a bitch sometimes, but this video isn't about her.
I need the police. My dad, he put a knife on my mom. He attacked her. He put a knife on my mom. You have to tell me. He attacked her.
Get out!
So that was a fucking lie.
So all that shit he went through and all the money he made was for nothing. His whole family now fucking hates him. He lost over 80% of all the money he killed himself trying to acquire and hide. He's living out in the woods with a new identity, completely cut off from society, paying his handler thousands of dollars just to spend time with him while he takes his chemo. He still desperately, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, his cancer's back, by the way. He still desperately tries to send money to his family, even though they are being constantly watched by the feds. And now his son wants him to die.
Why are you still alive? Why don't you just die already? Just die.
I mean, I understand how admirable it may be to stand by your family through thick and thin, but at what point do you just take a hint and realize that when people don't want anything to do with you, you should probably just leave them alone?
That is $9,720,000. I earned it, and you're going to give it to my children.
Never, I guess. Jeez, nigga, give me the money. I'll fucking take it. God damn. He ends up forcing these two billionaires from his past to give his son the money on his 18th birthday. Pretty sure he used to fuck one of them.
I saw you on Charlie Rose. You look great.
As a form of added incentive, he pays Jesse's friends to place laser pointers on their hearts and spins this bullshit story about the best hitmen in America monitoring them for 10 months until they give the money to his son.
And then suddenly, you'll hear the scrape of a footstep behind you, but before you can even turn around.
I guess when you have the whole world constantly telling stories of all the horrible real-life murders you actually committed, it becomes less strenuous to convince two suburban adults that you paid off two hitmen to watch them for a whole year.
There's no way Walt's getting to you. They are absolutely going to catch him. No doubt about it.
A few moments later.
You didn't kill anybody sneaking in here, did you?
So that was a fucking lie.
That arrogant asshole thinks he's some criminal mastermind, but he's not.
I mean, he did fool your husband and the entire DEA for over a year, all while hiding in plain sight. And he's still eluding the feds right now as he's casually walking through the city. But sure, he's not a criminal mastermind. After constructing what one can assume would be his last Heisenberg contraption of the series, he meets up with Skylar and finally admits what we figured out about 10 episodes ago.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. I was alive.
He chose to continue being Heisenberg because it made him happy. He might have started off because he wanted to provide for his family, but you either die a hero ... if you know what I mean. Yes, that's why I wrote ... in the script. He makes his way back to the guys that stole his money, fucking massacres all of them, saves Jesse's life one more time, kills the guy that stole his money, while Jesse strangles the guy that killed that kid, killed his girl and enslaved him for months. Walter gives Jesse the chance to kill him, but he declines, consciously choosing to no longer fall victim to his mind games. So he runs off to go star in El Camino, and Heisenberg bleeds to death from a stray gunshot wound and dies peacefully in the one place he always found happiness, the meth lab. Ultimately, Heisenberg's biggest mistakes could be boiled down to the fact that he didn't kill Jessie when he had the chance and he kept snipping for Skylar after she fucked another man. But I don't think that's the key takeaway from all this. I made a weird analysis of the pilot episode a few months ago, and I think even back then I got it right on the money. Essentially, when you strip away all the guns, drugs, lies, contraptions, cash and deceptions, Breaking Bad is a show about a man that spent his whole life bending over backwards, doing whatever he thought he had to do to survive, and only decided to take his life into his own hands after he got a terminal diagnosis.
If you've gone crazy, that's something I need to know about. I am awake.
You see, the Heisenberg persona wasn't created after he got cancer. The potential to achieve great things beyond his wildest imagination was always somewhere deep within him, just suppressed and ignored until he had nothing left to lose. Then it came out in the form of a monster that killed a lot of people and poisoned his community with drugs. In the end, it was never really about the money or his family or even his revenge. It was about the craft he took so much pride in, the fact that he was objectively the best in the world at something and found true happiness in doing it, regardless of whatever stood in his way. The real tragedy of the show is that the potential for greatness that manifested itself as Heisenberg was always within his grasp. At any point in his life, at a moment's notice, he could have tapped into that raw potential and achieved even greater things without having to settle for a criminal drug empire. Woo! Oh, the big ass video, god damn it! Fuck! It says here in the script, freestyle. Okay, so I have a Patreon, subscribe to that for my podcast. It's called Weird Thoughts. I do 3 things in there. I answer questions, I review movies, and I react to Reddit stories, text messages, and confessions and all that good stuff because, I like Reddit stuff. Whew! Well, this was fun. Subscribe to the Patreon, link in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next analysis.
Get your restraining order right here. Restrain this.